I know we're doing this recording for the first time, and probably first time we'll also capture our thoughts about how we all came together. We started AiVANTA largely to look at the solutions for enterprises who are looking to adopt AI. But enterprise meant very different things for all three of us, right? I come from largely video content monetization background. Rajesh, you obviously come from branding and marketing perspective, whereas Rupak, you are probably the one who has been looking at it purely from video production point of view, given this is something that you have been doing for last couple of years. And it was kind of uh, three different flows of ideas where we all sort of confluence towards the fact that there is a clear problem statement where enterprise adoption is going to be a challenge when it comes to generative AI, especially from the point of view of this being a very, very new technology, and you will see a lot of changes, flux, chaos in terms of new technology, new ways of adoption. Enterprise learning is going to be a journey in itself. Not to forget, obviously, issues around privacy and security. And we felt that while there is obviously adoption happening at an individual level, there can be a massive unlock both all in terms of time, cost, and quality if organizations start to uh, look at this adoption in a more organized way, right? So that was the context with which we all came together. Maybe Rupak, I'll start with you since you looked at it purely from production point of view, and you were the one who started to sort of lay the broader foundation of evangelizing, uh, use of generative AI amongst all of us. So maybe what was your perspective and how did we pick it up?
So initially, when I came across this AI and the things what it could do, this was of course before ChatGPT was there. A couple of things that were my core motivation out here is as an entrepreneur, you always are looking how to increase the productivity of yourself and your employees. Okay. And and that is how you generate more revenue, both from giving more salary to employees and you as a business owner taking home. So one of the things
Correct.
which I was always unhappy with it, and luckily today at least I have a solution. I can't say it has been solved. Is the payment or the salary what we pay to new joinees or even 3 years, 4 year experience joinee, especially in this video space or the marketing space, is very less as compared to if it was a tech job or it was something else where the pay scale is largely different. Even today, I think I can get a good 3, 4 years good editor in less than 50K. Okay, which I'm sure Karan you will agree not so easy for tech guys. It's
Absolutely.
very difficult even to get them under a lakh rupees. So I was always reflecting what we can do. And of course, as a business, as a creative person, if you take up 15 days for one project, you do less project, we pay you less, as simple as it can be. Okay. So how AI can help them to do more work? Okay. Then in that way, that makes sure that everyone earns. That was my primary motivation of starting exploring of how we all as an ecosystem earn for it. And second, the
Right.
more I started talking with co-founders, that is where I actually realized, okay, there is a way bigger scope that can happen from a productivity or the time cost quality, what you were speaking. Like you rightly said, initial vision was very simple of just doing it, and luckily I have been training for long before this project. So training was something which I was anyways passionate about. So this being the primary motivation of how we can improve the productivity in video production case, that was my
Right.
motivation of starting. And I think you were that time you were my client. So that time that was something that was happening, and
Correct.
Rajesh sir were like a mentor. We were trying to see कुछ हो सकता है, and then he's like AI आ गया है कुछ करते हैं. So that was it with Rajesh sir. Initially it was very simple. We do like a different vertical of agency which is AI focused, and when you came then the structure came, then the product idea for enterprise came into the picture. So that is the before you both meeting, this was my journey
Yeah.
in the space of AI.
we'll pull back into content flavor with Rajesh, because I think one of the things that Rajesh, we initially also discussed was how you wanted to not miss the bus on Gen AI, and move a traditional branding and marketing setup towards seeing how a new age platform like Gen AI could change the way content creation, especially from a marketing and brand perspective, happens. You want to share your thoughts on that? I think that would help.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Exactly. So basically, advertising or my business is visual storytelling. And when I actually saw the buzz around AI, the first thing that everybody got excited was about how can I create content using AI.
Right,
So then I decided myself to, first explore and learn and then expose my team also to certain tools. So initially it started with just upskilling, you know, the
yeah,
designers and the writers and all of that with Rupak.
right,
And once we did certain workshops, we saw the efficiencies that ChatGPT, Midjourney, all these tools started bringing in. And we've always been looking out for, and it was fascinating actually for the entire team
yeah,
at my end, that they were used to taking images from Shutterstock, stock images, stock music, and now you have an entire versatility and flexibility opening up with you can actually create what you want. You
correct,
can actually create an image. You can actually create music. You can actually use the kind of voice that you want to. So the impact of being so flexible, versatile,
yeah,
and that too at a very low cost, at a very high speed.
right,
So these were basically those driving factors that excited us to get into exploring these AI tools. And then obviously one thing led to the other. We initially were only going to focus on content creation, but then as we explored more, we understood that there is more to it
yeah,
than just content creation. And
correct,
actually, content flows across enterprises also.
yeah,
And then we started getting enterprises also excited into this entire journey and process. We tried to pick up a few projects here and there, put the whole thing together. And I think now we are at a position where we can actually, you know, uh, integrate all of this into a
yeah,
solution, basically an enterprise solution for various companies. So that's where I am. I think it's a very exciting journey. We're learning everything. We're relearning everything actually.
correct,
In fact, I have just finished a course on how AI can be used with LinkedIn or how AI can be used in websites
correct.
to improve your conversion and traffic and all of that. It's really really very exciting. There's no limit to this. I think the future is bright and the future is AI, and I think we are in at the right time.
No, I think that's a very interesting, and since this is coming from somebody who has been doing brand engagement for last few decades, right? A lot of other things also came in between, which were tech based. As I said, metaverse was one of the things, and a lot of things uh, came and went, and there was always a risk of even this being a fad, right? And the reason I'm asking you this first, Rajesh, is because you have seen more fads in your life than all of us, right? Uh, did it ever occur to you that this could be another such this could be another such moment? But did you, and if yes or if no, how, what was your sort of view on that?
No, I didn't. I never had a doubt even for a moment. The first time I downloaded Chat GPT and I started using it, there were no doubts at all because the interface was so easy. We could actually, and the language required was English.
Correct.
You don't need to know any complicated, systems. Or if you're not averse even to tech, even a non-tech person like me
Yeah.
was enjoying using Chat GPT, interacting with it. So that would be that was the key for me to understand that this is a platform which can be used by anybody.
Hmm.
You just need to have common sense. You need to have analytical skills. And as I explored it more, I understood how you interact with the platform, how do you prompt it, how do you customize it.
Right.
So I don't think any other platform offered that kind of customization, that kind of I would say it looked as if you're working with an assistant. You're training an assistant to actually
Correct.
work for you. So that was a big jump, and that actually cannot be replaced. So I had never
Right.
I had I the first time I used ChatGPT, After that, I had no doubt in my mind that this will not be a fad. This definitely is here to stay. Of course, there are some legal issues with certain organizations, but just as any new technology
Yeah,
comes in, even when digitization or computers came in, there were these guardrails which had to be developed for the industries.
correct,
Those will happen,
correct.
but there's no doing away with AI. I think so. That's my opinion.
Right. Interesting. In fact, Rupak, this is something that, even Rajesh alluded and something that you and I also spoke about is that, let's take ChatGPT launch as the milestone event beyond which AI really started to happen mainstream, right? When we were initially also discussing this, one of the first doubts I had was that while this is a chat-enabled AI, it took some time to really start seeing its potential beyond just textual generative AI, right? I remember you showing me different matchsticks placed together with which you were able to generate simulation of buildings or skyline, correct? So that was my first take on how visually generative AI could impact. We obviously then moved towards songs, audio, videos. Within videos, we started to look at avatars, and you guys have created great content when it comes to avatar-based videos as well. How did you start to look at? So was this like a linear adoption for you from chat to to more multimedia content, or was multimedia sort of happened somewhere in between, and then chat just started to sort of improve it?
So there are two ways in which I started exploring and where it benefited. First, it was always multimedia because I was not coming from this as a business perspective. I was seeing how my production time could cut down. So there were two use cases. First was voiceover, and second was music, which is not a stock music, but a music which is generated. Because if you remember Samir Pocket Films, his requirement was you have to compose the music. You cannot do a stock music because any stock music after a certain period of time will that is a revocable license. So, my
Hmm.
initial journey, I think chat was something which I looked afterwards. I looked images first. Sorry, I looked voiceover
Hmm.
first, music, and then images. And in fact, yeah, I don't know if you remember that idea what we discussed. You wanted to create some animated videos, and you were like, "Can text to image exist?" And that
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
first time when I had
correct.
heard about Midjourney. It's not that I hadn't heard, but I did not took up that paid plan. I was like, okay, let me explore. This can be done. So it trickled down reverse way. Text was the last thing I explored because of the video production work. What being there. One thing what I always have in mind and still, which is very much true, is text is something that is the beginning point for anything. What you do with that
Hmm.
text is what matters and where you will get paid. So GPT will always be there. But let's say if you want to make a video, GPT creates scripts, then there is a voiceover, then there is an editing. If you want to do it for sales, GPT creates the first line of thing, then there is an audio video layer. So GPT
Hmm.
now has become like a base. I won't say like this is something what we do. This is something we have to do. Without that, any product will not work without any LLM. And of course, as time went on, we
Interesting.
learned on
Yeah.
how to customize it. And I'm sure here you can also share your journey of exploring it from a vendor behind you to let's use AI to that point where you decide, okay, I had some business plans, I had some this, which now can be executed thanks to the cost which has gone down. So why don't you
Right.
get to
Right.
that side of the journey?
Yeah. Yeah. So my journey to or my drivers to generative AI were two. One was obviously cost reduction. As you said, we were looking at you to sort of build or commission content to create content via AI. The second was also the PRability of it, or the internal PR of using generative AI. And I am sure a lot of us can relate to it, which is when a new technology comes up, right? As an organization, we do push ourselves to at least appear at the forefront of its adoption, right? So, you start to float around buzzwords. Certain times, those buzzwords give you extra budget to play around and experiment with few things and so on and so forth, right? So, for me, it was a very typical business adoption in that way, where there was one very clear, tangible benefit of obviously cost reduction, but there was also an intangible benefit of being able to appear cool, cool enterprise, right? Being able to appear at the forefront of adopting it in our specific industry. But where this really lit up for me was when I could see the impact it had on my team, your team, people around, in terms of thinking more creatively. Spoke about how ChatGPT allowed him to create, not replicate. You spoke about how we moved away from stock footage to actually creating our own content, or how we moved towards creating royalty-free content, right? So that imaginative unlocking that it did for the teams was something that made me realize that this is where collective adoption can happen, and this is where democratization of high quality content could happen, right? Democratization of content happened with UGC content coming into picture with Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, but it wasn't about creating high quality edit quality, professional edit quality content. And I think that is where generative AI completely changed, where non-creative people like us could also create content which looked good, and we moved just beyond Canva to create content beyond thumbnails, create actual video content, create great audio podcast content. And I think for me, that was the way I could see that there is scale to the adoption. And yeah, I think that sort of helped. How many of us think that uh, this is the perfect? You spoke about perfect storm, but is this the perfect hype cycle that we are at, right? Uh, what's your view? Anybody want to take an initial shot on? Do we think this is hype cycle 101? Are we there? Are we beyond the hype, or where do we think we are in the when it comes to generative AI?
Basically, whenever something new comes, people just shoot their heads off and have
Yeah,
perceptions, oh, if this can be done by a machine, then what is the need of a human being? And actually those perceptions just built up, and because it was new and people were naive, they didn't know what this can do, and they found it ki magic ho raha hai. So they thought ki, and as things evolved and more people got more educated, there were more articles on it, they understood that this is not just about you asking a question and artificial intelligence giving you the answer. When they understood that this has to be fine tuned, it has to be trained, there's machine learning to it, human intervention is
yeah,
important, and apparently today prompt engineering is the highest paid job in the US, which is basically connected to artificial intelligence. So as these perceptions clear out, I'm sure people are excited, people are fearful, people are apprehensive. They really do not know what's there on the other side. It's a black hole kind of a thing, and it's a mistake. I think on the part of the AI companies also, the companies who are making these tools, they're not very open about their technology or their systems and all of that. But once things, it'll take time. But once the clarity will happen, once transparency will come in, governments and bodies like NASSCOM will
hmm,
get into it and try and streamline all these processes. I think then the scalability will be much faster, especially for enterprises. Individuals have already started using it. They need to go through proper training. They need to understand those tools. They need people like Rupak to be
yeah,
evangelists, to tell them that this is how things have to be done in the right way. And I think all in all, it's a great opportunity. It's never going to replace a human being. It's only going to help the human to scale, to do things faster, to do it at a
yeah.
larger scale, to do it more efficiently, to save a lot of time, and probably I think probably it'll definitely increase efficiency going forward for an individual as well as for an enterprise.
Correct. Absolutely. Rupak, you've been obviously also involved in a lot of trainings, right? Where you've spoken to people who are at uh, different stages of exposure to generative AI, right? One obvious benchmark is whether they've used ChatGPT or not, but there are multiple other tools that we try to assess people's readiness or exposure to AI, right? Uh, how do you think that graph has moved from few people having just heard about ChatGPT to now people talking about ChatGPT versus Bard versus Gemini versus new tools, and how do you think people are comparing different tools? So one problem statement is where there is multiple tools for one single kind of a task. Second is the challenge about paid subscriptions, and third is the challenge of just a degree of comfort using a certain tool, right? If you look at all these three things together, how do you see people changing their take on generative AI as you've spoken to more and more people over the last year or so?
So, one thing this I mentioned to Rajesh sir also last time we were talking. Every time now after any AI session, like today also did a small talk, I am these days feeling bit low, okay, because the gap is getting huge. So for example, luckily when I used to do session last year, all these tools were giving freemium model. Okay. Midjourney was free for a
Hmm,
certain time. ChatGPT, anyways, it just had 3.5. It did not have 4. It was just evolving into it. So a lot of people had access to best tools which were there, and they were making decisions based on it. Now, sadly, if
hmm,
you meet a lot of people who still feel AI's level is what ChatGPT 3.5 is, and as someone who have used ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, we know how drastically things have changed, and people are still stuck
correct,
in that case. Same, they have seen
correct.
free websites like Leonardo or Dali or something here and there. They haven't even seen,
Yeah.
if you sit with Midjourney, what you can do. Haze and
Hmm,
Synthesia, there is no free plan, so they don't even can test what level of videos can be done. So fine-tuning LLM. So I met a lot of tech companies who have not tested fine-tuning GPT. They still think अगर बड़ा document है तो नहीं कर सकते. So the gap is actually
correct.
people who have got in are actually leveraging nicely, uh, and but people who are down or who are not evolved, now the barrier to entry has become premium for every plan. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's very
absolutely.
vast, and that sometimes scares me. Of course, job loss is not going to happen, but saturation is going to happen. No one is going to pay them 2x, 3x of the salary in next 5 years or 6 years. It will be just a basic increase that will happen. So it's like frog
Hmm,
in the well. They are not going to realize because temperature is increasing by a degree, let's say every month. They will not even realize that hey, there like same thing happened with social media, right? There are influencers less than 25 years of age might be earning daily, monthly 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs. Okay, and I'm sure we all know those influencers in Connect Order. So that is my fear. And talking about your previous question, I think economy wise, we are at a right pace. There is enough budget to experiment, but there is not a lot of budget to create hype. So after the first experiment, the question always comes, okay, now what is the ROI? Okay, so in
hmm,
a way that has made us sharper to create our products, create our solutions in a way that actual solves the time cost quality which you keep on saying. It
yeah,
solves those need. And I think I was talking today itself, I think we are blessed because if it was any other way around, it was if it was too low, then there won't be a budget for pilot. And if it was too high, then we would have been like something like crypto just doing it, but use cases wise, its scale would not have matched. So I think we are
correct,
blessed to
correct.
be at the right economy, I would say, where there is enough budget to experiment, but not so much like you just keep on doing unnecessary things.
Yeah. No, I think very interesting perspective, and something which is, now that you've spoken about it, is actually very scary, right? Where uh, beyond initial adoption push, brands and organizations, deep tech companies especially, are going into more paid models. And I think it is also to do with, uh, as they keep getting more funding, right? The pressure to start building more monetization channels will start coming into picture. But I think it will also open up new opportunities. For example, we have been talking about and even dabbling into affiliate models, right? Which was something that when we started off, we never even thought about. So there is a lot of affiliate revenue stream to be explored, for example. It could also lead to, I think, lot of uh, probably a boost to edtech, because you can create courses where paid models are taught and so on and so forth. But yes, I think it will lead to slight bigger gaps when it comes to uh, uh, the gap of skill set between the early adopters and probably fence sitters. But I think the way probably we need to look at it is, does this actually bring more opportunities uh, of solving adoption at a scale where an individual may not be able to think about, right? We're talking about at least double digit dollars per month sort of costing for almost every tool, which can become hard, especially in markets like India, for it, and could definitely impact adoption. And I think that is where probably it kind of reaffirms our vision of building it at an enterprise level, where initially we were not even thinking about cost being one of the bigger impediments. We were thinking about learning curve as a biggest challenge. But I think even cost could drive towards enterprises looking at a more wider solution where everybody could adopt certain technology. It's like people buying Google suits, right? Individuals don't buy that much, but at an organization level, once this happens, it unlocks so much of office productivity over the board rather than solving it for an individual. Yeah, so I think that's obviously a very interesting way to look at it. One more thing I wanted to sort of bring about, that all four of us would have seen, right? Rupak, you would have probably seen it from evaluating different video production tools. Rajesh, you would have looked at it from right tools between, let's say, choosing between a Mid Journey or a HeyGen or a Synthesia, right? It's Do we currently have too many choices to make? Is that a right assessment? And are we at a point where eventually we will see a very high degree of consolidation between tools? Uh, Everybody is obviously most of these are deep tech companies, and they're obviously focusing on their individual use cases, correct? But now there are too many companies solving for different use cases. So do you think choice or making the right choice is something that we need to live with? Or do you think there will happen certain consolidation where you will start seeing emergence of some very clear winners in each part of generative AI components?
So I think if you take my opinion, then the direction that we have taken on our product development is the right direction, no? Because since there are going to be so many tools under each of those delivery
Right.
outputs, then why leave the selection of tool to the end
Hmm.
consumer? Let the SaaS platform decide which tool is the most uh, optimal for that kind of an output. And I think these models will work much better than people going to multiple tools and then for trying to find out which tool is better and which tool is not better. So I think that is going to happen. As far as I think there's a space for everybody to exist. Maybe there'll be a different price
Hmm.
points, a different usability. Because there's no special, great training skill required to learn using the tool. It is not like a software that you need to go through,
Correct.
hours and hours of training to learn. Basically, with short sessions, you can learn, and then you can, these are very reactive kind of tools, and you can use them multiple. You can do
Yeah.
trial and
Yeah.
error and all of that. So I think there is a space for all these tools to exist. And the more use cases, so pehle hota tha, basically there is a particular Tally is a software only for accounting, so you can only do that. And so, but today you can keep on finding use cases for various tools. And so experimentation is going on at both ends.
Hmm.
The tool maker is also trying to experiment which use cases can he cater to, and at our user end also he's trying to see कि मैं और कौन से use cases इसमें use करूँ. Why is there
I think
fireworks
I think
behind
even the AI systems agree with you vehemently. So, Rupert, just where do you see purely from individualization of let's say LLMs, how op- and the question is not tech. The question is more perspective. How open are people to actually explore this? It could always appear obviously daunting or slightly scary, right? How are people taking this up when it comes to customizing their profiles into LLMs and seeing where that journey takes off?
So there's, like you said, people who are interested are extremely interested in trying to do some innovation, but majority of crowd is still at a productivity level from organization or a work perspective. They're still trying to figure out, okay, they are like, I don't want to use it for personal, for work, it is pretty much good. And then is few set of audience who are trying to explore. But I think one of the reasons that somewhere stops them or a lot of people is also is what is the end goal. You can create your own personal LLM, and at the end, you're just going to use it for brainstorming. Is there um, are we too early to create a car when there are no roads? Okay.
Hmm.
What
Correct.
future, what I could personally see is like your LinkedIn URL for work. There is your AI bot where people can just talk and try to see, okay, what work you do, how you are able to solve for their need. This may become a use case. So the
Yeah.
use case for a personal LLM is still not clear from a lot of stand. Of course, they're a company who are investing, trying to create even GPT. One of the reasons they made it free and anyone can do it is also they wanted to see, okay, what people are going to build with it in a way. Like Rajesh sir also told, even
Correct.
tools are exploring कि भाई क्या business model बनेगा इस पे. So the reason there is no strong use case for majority, and that is where personal LLM hasn't picked up the hype which it should have. But from an organization standpoint, I think now every second organization is at least talking. We don't know, is it for PR purpose or is it for actually doing purpose? That is something that we'll only know when they launch it. But yeah, for an
Hmm.
organization perspective, it has picked up.
As of now, it is only for PR purpose, as per my experience, because the people who are talking in media about AI don't even know anything about AI, not interested also. They are reading some article and they are just putting it up over there. But
But I think that
it
is
will
how, yeah, I
change.
think that is how
Slowly, they will
correct.
have
You first,
once it
yeah,
once it actually comes driven from the
yeah,
top. See, now what is happening is people at the bottom are trying to push it, or people like us are trying to get them into the
correct.
mode. But they already have so much on their plate that they don't want to actually get into another KRA for themselves. But when it comes from the top, when the management says no, we also need to, they understand that a few real use cases will
Yeah,
come out as success
yeah,
stories on AI, and only then I think when people will share their success stories. As of now, even organizations which are using AI are just
correct,
experimenting with it. They have
correct.
not really got those numbers to
Yeah,
show. So once somebody actually shows those numbers, then obviously people will realize, and then the adoption will come. So that adoption will be a bit slow, and in the meantime, we'll have to focus on. But that gives us good time to actually explore more use cases and build better
correct,
tools, so that when this time of adoption comes, companies like us are actually ready to offer solutions rather than start thinking about the solution
correct,
in that way.
correct. No, I think that's, yeah,
I think we have the first,
I think,
we have an early
yes.
mover
And I
advantage.
think uh, that is actually very predictable, right? That is how typically adoption happens. I think the curve profile will remain the same, but the curve length will
Correct.
reduce, So instead of taking 4 years, 5 years to really uh, adopt completely a certain technology, this might happen within a span of, let's say, a year or so. And and the reason for this is that because content is one very clear use case of generative AI. Content has very quick gratification, right? It's very instant gratification. So you can see immediately if a content created via AI has uh, got you better response, got you better viewership,
Better
better
engagement. Yeah.
engagement, so and so. So because the gratification is quite instant for one of the biggest use cases of generative AI, it could lead to far quicker dipsticks, if you know what I mean. That could happen. But yeah, I think on that note, let's sort of wind this up. thanks for I think doing this. This is our first podcast in the AI Forward series that we'll hope to bring in more participants, bring more enterprise perspective to generative AI. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll keep chatting on this more. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Bye.